Hey guys, welcome back. It's your brother in Christ, Weston. Thanks for joining me today. So today's article comes out of Now the End Begins and End Times headlines. Let's get into it. So for End Times prophecy lovers, just like myself, let's read. It says this: could this be the formation of the seventh empire of Bible prophecy? If you hear my son in the back, it's because he is not taking a nap. There are also 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has yet to come. And when he comes, he must continue for a short time. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and is going to perdition. Revelation 17 verses 10 through 12. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has declared his support for a political union that includes not only the EU but also former realm of the Roman Empire. Though Britain left the European Union in 2020 in a move known as Brexit, some European leaders feel Russia's invasion of Ukraine has created a greater need for unity in the face of a common threat. A parallel organization would enable Britain to join without re-entering the EU. Johnson revealed his modern imperium would extend from the UK to Maghreb region of northern Africa to eastward to Turkey. He claimed he had come up with the idea back when I first became foreign secretary that he thought we should basically be recreating the Mare Nostrum of the Roman Empire. The Mediterranean Sea was given the Roman name Mare Nostrum, and when the Roman Empire ruled over most of Europe, the northern Africa coast, modern-day Turkey, and parts of the Caucasus, yes. French leader EmmanuelMacron has long championed a greater European and political community and has been calling for true European army. Since he took power, Johnson's plan, however, sets out a much larger vision of who should be included. Some of Europe's most prominent politicians have argued for years that to become a true global power, the EU needs its own defense force, one that is independent of US and European NATO alliance and does not rely on the United States. Former President of European Commission Jean-Claude Juncker has suggested Europe transforms itself into what is called a superpower that could act as a global security power. He went on to say, the Americans, to whom we owe much, will not ensure the security of the Europeans in the long term. We have to do this ourselves, and the only way forward is to combine our forces and strengthen not only our capacity, but also our will to act. Armin Laschet of Germany said recently that Europe must be strengthened such that we have to never leave it up to the Americans. The idea of an EU army to defend Europe has been around since the days of Churchill and seems to be revived every decade. While most attempts have failed, there are some followers of Bible prophecy who see the potential of a future 10-nation alliance out of Europe to fulfill the prophecies of the book of Daniel and Revelation. That would be me. In which a 10-nation alliance from Europe, the beast of Revelation, becomes the seat of power for the Antichrist on his way to global domination. Some have speculated about whether the prophecies in Revelation refer to 10 nations, 10 world regions, or 10 simple leaders, or simply 10 leaders. When the European Union first emerged and eventually grew to 10-member nations, prophecy students were sitting up and taking notice until EU grew past 10 nations. Current EU members total 27. Then the excitement died down considerably as Europe failed to demonstrate any united military capability. That's what End Times Headlines has to say, right? Let's take a look at our brothers in Christ, brothers and sisters in Christ over at Now the End Begins. It says here, Emmanuel Macron, speaking at G7 event last week, suggested a revived Roman Empire to include Europe, Turkey, North Africa. Boris Johnson of England loves the idea. So we just read about that. Today is a fantastic example of why we call Emmanuel Macron the gift that keeps on giving. If you are a student of the End Times Bible prophecy, at G7 gathering last week, Macron said that what needs to be created is a revived Roman Empire that has more power than either the European nation or NATO. Not only did he say that, but many people were listening to him, like Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who actually just resigned today until there is a successor from England, thought it was a great idea that this should be given serious consideration. Then he quotes Daniel 11:24. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches, and he shall forecast his devices against strongholds, even for a time. Do you remember what Emmanuel Macron said when he first came to power in 2017? He told a baffled press corps that he wanted to reign as a Jupiterian president, a remote, dignified figure like the Roman gods of gods, who weighs his rare pronouncements carefully. Do a word search in your King James Bible for the word Jupiter, and you will see that it means Jupiter is absolutely connected to the end times. And what does Emmanuel Macron mean when he says he wants to create a revived Roman Empire? Exactly that. And that is exactly what we have claimed for the past 3 years that he will do as the biblical man of sin. Today we move our hands on the end times clock a full minute forward with about 30 seconds left to go. Fun fact, the last person to attempt to create a revived Roman Empire was Adolf Hitler, the most complete type of Antichrist in human history outside of the biblical accounts. Everything Hitler did was a type that will be done in the tribulation and will be done by someone who just might be Emmanuel Macron. Since we started reporting on him, Macron has done nothing but justify and validate our opinion. And then here is some other information. Are you ready for Emmanuel Macron's revived empire? From the Al Mayadeen English, according to the Financial Times on Wednesday, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, claiming the idea of his own, brought up the idea which he believes that Europe's modern take on the Roman Empire, a European political community, which includes Eastern Europe, namely Ukraine. He talks about the idea back in 2016, 2018. Addressing the journalists on their way to the NATO summit in Madrid, he revealed that he had come up with the idea back when he first became foreign secretary. We should basically be recreating the Mare Nostrum, which we just went over. The European continent is no longer at peace, not since February 24, 2022, when Russia decided on war. In Madrid, meeting his allies, we took note. That was from Emmanuel Macron on June 30th. Back in the European Parliament, Macron proposed owing the idea to the French predecessors Francois Mitterrand, a broad European club that was brought up in 1989 when the Soviet Union was collapsing. Johnson described this idea as worth looking at as long as it caters to the British strategic interests. He said that inventing new structures might not be the best use of resources. While there have been tensions between Brits and French during the G7 summit, the two agreed to start over. One UK official called reconciliation a bromance. France and UK disagree on a number of issues, including disputes over English Channel Brexit and criticism of Macron isn't aggressive enough with Vladimir Putin and Russian president. One of the last attempts enacted in Europe, nostalgia to restore a Roman Empire, ended up in miserable Nazi defeat in 1945. So that was 6 minutes of me just blah, 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 and you soaking that all in. So what does it all mean? We're talking about a revived Roman Empire, which we see in the book of Revelation when we start talking about the horns, right? There are 10 horns. There's a dragon. There's 7 heads, 10 horns. These horns are horns of power. Some have 2, some have 1. There will be a little horn who usurps 3 horns, and then he'll be the 8th. That's what we read there. And it's all talking about the forming of the Antichrist, which then gets power from these nations and rules over them. And when you start seeing that here and start talking about Roman Empire stuff, like, I can't help but go to Bible prophecy and look at it from a literal perspective as much as I can, to talk about these nations or these powers or these kings or these leaders who are going to give their power over or have a power for a little while, and then they're going to give their power to the Antichrist, right? And he's going to rule and reign for a short time because he has to. But with that said, that leads us even more and closer to what I believe as a preacher, believer, and anybody watching this, that the rapture of the church is soon. And I believe the rapture of the church would happen on the Feast of Trumpets. I used to believe it could happen at any time. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that it happens only on the Feast of Trumpets based off all Jewish history, festivals, terminologies, things like that I've dug into. And I've had to change my heart. I want it to happen at any point, but I believe that it will happen on the Feast of Trumpets because it fulfills the Feast of Trumpets. And then we move on to the Feast of Atonement or the Day of Atonement, and then Tabernacles, which are the last 3 feasts to be fulfilled. So, what a way to start out your July, by hearing conversations about nations coming together, or a global security power, or somebody want to be a Jupiterian, right? I didn't know that. But every time I review Now the End Begins, they pinpoint out Emmanuel Macron, and it makes me look at him just a little bit more and like, I wonder if he is. So I don't know if we're going to know who the Antichrist is. There could be plenty of prospects. But whoever it is, I believe that it's getting narrower and narrower on the people that are gonna be it, that we know publicly right now, or the Antichrist could just be the person that comes out privately, which makes total sense to me as well. So keep your eyes open. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what y'all think, and I'll see you in the next one.